I'm just curious, you call it that. I've not seen that in any of these bills. Where is that coming from? Oh, I get that, but the question is, you're in the news business. Does the truth matter or not? Is that in any of the bills? Yes or no? I understand what you're doing, but and here's the thing, this wasn't like my legislation. Like, I have certain big priorities that we did. This is something the legislature felt strong about. So I start getting asked about this by the media, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, they're getting spun up. I see you know how this works, right? And I was like, there is no way it's true. And I didn't even look at the bill yet. I just knew it wasn't true. And so you actually look at the bill, and it says no sexual instruction in grades pre-K through 3. And so how many parents want their kindergartners to have transgenderism or something injected into classroom instruction? And so I think those are very young kids. I think the legislature is basically trying to give parents assurance that they're going to be able to go and this stuff's not going to be there. But there's nothing in the bill that says anything about you can't say or this say. It's basically saying for our youngest students, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6 years and 7, do you really want them to be being taught about sex? And this is any sexual stuff, but I think clearly right now we see a lot of focus on the transgenderism, telling kids that they may be able to pick genders and all that. I don't think parents want that for these young kids. And so I think that's what they were trying to do. Now, and I think that's justifiable. I think it's inappropriate to be injecting those matters like a transgenderism into a kindergarten classroom. At the same time, if you oppose that, you have a responsibility to be honest about it. What about that specifically? Yeah, you can create a false narrative. You can stage a protest. You can do all those things, but you're not telling the truth about what's actually there. And again, I didn't have a dog in the fight because it wasn't my legislation. The legislature took the lead on it. But when I hear these things and then I look on the paper about what it is, and there's this massive gulf between what it actually says with respect to these very young kids versus what some of these protests in the Capitol or whatever are about, and I get it if you're intentionally just trying to create a political narrative and it's not true, but you still do it. That's unfortunately the world we live in. But I do feel that there's some people who haven't read it and who are actually accepting some of the narratives whole cloth. Be very, very careful. When you see that ecosystem starting to spin up narratives, be very, very careful about accepting any of that whole cloth. I mean, we've seen so much over the last couple years that would cause you to be skeptical. So I haven't seen any of that in the bills that are actually presented to me. If they take a radical change, then obviously we'll have to consider what it is. But to provide protections for parents, for preschoolers, kindergartners, first graders, I mean, that is something that I think most parents, would appreciate it. And we send the kids to school, young kids, and we want them to learn the basics. Some of these issues that are just simply not age appropriate, I think parents want to see protection for that. Okay, thanks everybody. We appreciate it.